Hi, today we're going to learn about the next segment of Colorado history, the Colorado Gold Rush. The Colorado Gold Rush is actually recognized as the Pikes Peak Gold Rush. We're going to start off today by learning a little bit about the history of Pikes Peak and then some history that happened before the actual gold rush, and then we'll learn about the gold rush itself and the impact that it had on our state of Colorado. So here's a little bit about why Pikes Peak is called Pikes Peak.
Summits in the United States of America. Located in the Rocky Mountains, its official elevation is 14,115 feet above sea level. Stack roughly 1,400 elephants on top of each other, and you're there. While we could get stuck on the impressive physical statistics of Pikes Peak, today we're going to focus on how this massive mountain has played a huge role in U.S. history. Welcome to That Was History. I'm your host, Cliff Langston. So, how exactly has Pikes Peak contributed to U.S. history? There are so many ways to answer this question, but let's just focus in on some of the highlights. Kicking off our list, the Ute Native American tribe believed that the Great Spirit created the entire world from Pikes Peak's location and formed the mountain by pouring ice and snow through a hole in the sky. While we know this not to be true today, that's a pretty impressive title to have held. In 1803, President Thomas Jefferson completed the Louisiana Purchase. The United States paid France roughly $15 million to acquire approximately 828,000 square miles of land known as the Louisiana Territory. Pikes Peak was included in that purchase, officially making it part of the United States. 3 short years later, President Jefferson sent out explorers to survey the land that he had purchased. The famous Lewis and Clark expedition headed out towards the northwestern part of the territory, and another party led by Lieutenant Zebulon Montgomery Pike was sent to explore the southern region. As you might recognize, Lieutenant Pike is the individual from which Pikes Peak gets its name. The mountain was named James Peak for roughly 20 years between 1820 and 1840 due to the fact that Dr. Edwin James was the first recorded person to reach the summit in 1820. Dr. James' contribution did not stop there, however, as he also made notes and provided examples of undiscovered plants and flowers, including Colorado's state flower, the blue columbine. In 1840, the official name was declared Pikes Peak, since Zebulon Pike was the first American to document the mountain. By the late 1850s, Pikes Peak had become an icon among gold seekers who were trying to strike it rich during the Colorado Gold Rush. This time in history was also known as the Pikes Peak Gold Rush, and the phrase Pikes Peak or bust was often seen on wagons traveling towards the region. Julia.
So that's a little bit about why Pikes Peak actually is called Pikes Peak, because of Zebulon Pike's expedition. So now we're going to talk a little bit about other things that led to the actual gold rush. So the Pikes Peak Gold Rush lasted from 1859 to 1861. We already know that it started a little bit before that, but here's a little bit more information about that. In 1835, a French trapper found the first pieces of gold in Colorado. He was actually lost. He was on a truck with some of his friends and family, and he actually was lost for quite a few weeks. But he found some specimens and actually had them later tested to find that they were pure gold. He then led an expedition back, but he actually could not find the location. So even though people knew that there was gold in this area, they didn't quite know where. In 1849, the Cherokee Trail was established by a wagon train headed to the California gold fields. The California Gold Rush was in full effect, and many people were traveling westward to try to find gold in California. Because the Cherokee Trail went through the Denver area, people were then starting to stop and actually look for gold in the area around in the river valleys at the foot of the Rocky Mountains, but they only found like gold flakes and not a lot. So even though they found some gold, there was not enough to keep so many people here. So in 1857, the California Gold Rush actually started to fade though. And so even though a lot of people started to go home, there were still rumors of gold in the Rocky Mountains. And so some people brought their parties to come back to this area and search for gold. One specific party, a Spanish-speaking party from New Mexico, worked a deposit up above the South Platte River, about 5 miles above Cherry Creek, which is now part of the metropolitan area, where they found a little bit of gold. So that was where not too much gold had been found yet at this point. But then a man in 1858, that's a typo, William Greenberry Green Russell was a Georgian who worked the California gold fields in the 1850s. He was actually married to a Cherokee woman, and through his wife's connections, he and a group of total at the very end was 107 people. They came from Oklahoma, and they traveled all the way from his home, and they traveled through present-day Oklahoma along the Arkansas River, and then they even went up to what you learned about yesterday. They even went up through Bent's Fort. They eventually continued to the Cherry Creek, where they, on May 23rd of 1858, they had their original explorations, which is in Confluence Park in downtown Denver today. They began prospecting the riverbeds. They didn't find anything for a little bit, and that was for about 2 months. But in July of 1858, Green Russell, and his friend Sam Bates found a small placer deposit near the mouth of Little Dry Creek that was about 622 grams of gold. That was the first significant discovery of gold in the Rocky Mountain region, and that is what sparked the actual Pikes Peak or Bust gold rush. That 622 grams sent Americans into a frenzy. So newspapers would have ads to travel to Colorado. People started packing up their belongings and heading this way. Some people even came in that winter and realized that they're going to have to wait for the snow to melt because it was too cold to mine for gold. Because the most people came here in 1859, the gold miners from the Colorado Gold Rush are called the 59ers. So it's actually called the Pikes Peak or Bust Gold Rush because that Pikes Peak was one of the very first things that the gold miners would see when they were actually headed this way, even though it was 85 miles north of Pikes Peak in the Denver area where they were actually searching for gold. It was not actually near Pikes Peak. It was just prevalent and they could see it very well. So here's some pictures of miners mining. Here's a recolorized photo of a mine camp in Colorado. You can see that they have like a little area set up to cook and eat and be with their friends and family. So this is a little log cabin. This is another mining camp. The rush created few mining camps, such as Denver City and Boulder City, and other places that you even hear of as cities today, such as Central City, Black Hawk, Georgetown, Idaho Springs. This actually right here is a picture of the Denver area as well. Here is an artist picture, an artist painting of what Denver looked like in the 1850s. So you can see a few buildings here and there. Definitely not what it looks like today. Here's another picture of Denver City in the 1850s. Along the Cherokee Trail, this is actually would have been one of our field trips that we probably would have went on if we were able to go on field trips. Brothers Samuel and Jonas Brantner built a 2-story log cabin along the Cherry Creek that today is called the 4 Mile House. It's called the 4 Mile House because it actually offered services to travelers traveling along the Cherokee Trail. It's the 4 Mile House because when travelers were on the Cherokee Trail, the 4 Mile House was an indicator that they were 4 miles away from Denver. And so they realized that when you were traveling out with a wagon and horses or oxen, you couldn't travel very far each day. And so 4 miles, this was like the last stop that you would stop, stay here, get some food, resupply, and then you would travel one more day to Denver. So the gold rush brought so many people to Colorado. The population boom was huge. Because there was such a rapid population growth, it actually led to the creation of the Colorado Territory in 1861, which you're going to learn more about that tomorrow. So much gold was produced that the Congress of the United States even established the Denver Mint. So the Denver Mint is still here today, but it was established back because of the gold rush. Some other things that you're going to hear about too, that other businessmen even came to Colorado because of all the other people coming here to start other businesses. You'll even see it in the Nuggets. I'm wearing a Nugget shirt today. You'll see it in the pick and the axe in the Nuggets logo. So here's a little bit more about the gold rush.
Gold rush, it really is one of the most important events in Colorado history. It jump-started our state's economy, and without it, Colorado as we know it would not exist. The first documented finding of gold was in 1850. A group of Cherokee discovered gold flakes in Ralston Creek in today's Arvada. This sparked the gold rush a few years later. In 1858, the biggest gold searching expedition to date came out here to Colorado, and they didn't really have a lot of luck. They didn't find much, so most of those guys had gone home. 13 stayed on and kept looking, and just a little over a week later, they found a significant amount of gold in the Flat River, about 4 miles upstream from today's confluence with the Cherry Creek. The news exploded into the eastern United States, and through the winter of 1858, people flocked to Colorado. Men like William Byers, the founder of the Rocky Mountain News, and William H. Larimer started buying up land in and around Denver. What these guys knew was that it was way more likely that they were going to make a buck, publishing newspapers, selling whiskey, selling mining supplies in Denver than it was that they were actually going to find gold. And it turned out they were right. Mining towns like Gold Hill, Central City, and Leadville were born, and surrounding towns like Denver, Boulder, Fort Collins, and Colorado Springs started to prosper as well. So, the ultimate significance of the gold rush for modern Colorado is really that it set up our state's current geography. Without the gold rush, it's difficult to say what Colorado would look like.
So the gold rush helped form the geography of our state, of where our cities are located, the businesses that were created here. In many different aspects, you'll still see remnants of the result of the gold rush. So hopefully you learned a lot about the gold rush today. On your timeline, what you need to draw is something that results, or something that reminds you of the gold rush. It could be a mountain, it could be Pikes Peak, it could be a stream where people are panning for gold. Hopefully you got some facts from this presentation. The dates that you're going to put for the gold rush are 1859 to 1861, even though there was a lot of prehistory before that time period. So the gold rush had a huge impact on Colorado. Hopefully you learned a lot. Talk to you later.